The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to this ISM Trust webinar on partnerships and networking for musicians. My name is Ruth McPherson. This webinar will look at how you can build your network and work in partnership with other musicians and businesses to boost your career. Before we get started, there's a few bits of housekeeping to mention. So firstly, the content of this presentation is for information purposes only. It's not intended as a substitute for legal or other professional advice and should not be relied upon as such. You can contact us about your specific situation, and ISM members have access to the ISM's in-house legal team. You can't see me, but you should be able to see the PowerPoint presentation displayed on your screen. You should also be able to hear me, but I can't hear you, so if you experience any technical difficulties, such as sound or quality issues, please let us know in the question box and we'll make attempts to resolve the issue. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to watch back on the ISM's website at ism/webinars. The webinar is called Partnerships and Networking for Musicians, but the content should be relevant to anyone working in the music sector who is interested in maximising relationships and building connections. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to type them into the question box and I will try to answer them at the end. So I'll start by introducing myself and the ISM, and then I'll go through the content of the webinar in more detail. So as I said, my name is Ruth McPherson. I'm the Senior Partnerships and Marketing Manager at the ISM, or the Incorporated Society of Musicians. The ISM is the UK's professional body for musicians and a subject association for music. We have almost 10,000 members from around the UK who are all working as professionals in the music sector. The ISM has two sister charities, the ISM Trust and the ISM Members Fund. This webinar is delivered by the ISM Trust. My role at the ISM sits within the marketing team, and one of my main responsibilities is to manage our relationship with organisations from across the music sector, including almost 180 corporate members. Our corporate members are a diverse group of organisations ranging from schools, universities and music services to retailers, record labels and charities. We work with these organisations in a variety of different ways to promote music and to protect our members and the wider sector. I organise networking events for our corporate members, and I also manage the ISM's marketing presence at external events, so I spend a lot of time meeting people out and about at music events. So what will we cover? I'll give you a brief overview to start. So first up, we'll look at partnerships. What are they, why are they useful, and how should you approach them? We'll cover ensembles and bands, working with an artist manager, and partnerships between music professionals and organisations. Then we'll move on to networking, looking at how you can make the most out of networking, both in person and online. And finally, I'll take you through a few ISM networking opportunities that are available to those working in the music sector, as well as some further professional development opportunities in this area. So, partnerships, what are they? Well, a partnership is defined as an association of two or more people, but you can also look at it as a reciprocal agreement which is beneficial to both parties. Any successful partnership should be mutually beneficial. Relationships are as much about giving as they are about receiving. And every time you meet someone, try and think about what you can do to help them before jumping in and asking for favours. After all, you can't expect people to help you out for nothing. So let's think of an example. Like if you're an artist looking for promotion from an event organiser or a DJ, you could give them an exclusive preview of your next album or some free tickets or albums to give out to their audience. This would make you more memorable and perhaps they'll want to work with you again. If you're a private music teacher or a part of a small teaching practice, you could consider partnering with a local after-school club or an adult learning centre. This is a great way to gain new clients whilst providing a useful service. If you're an administrator for a music company, at any event you attend, there could be people who benefit your organisation. For example, you might meet a journalist looking for music sector news who you could arrange an interview with so that they get an interesting story and you get some coverage for your organisation in their magazine. Whether you're looking at a simple partnership or a more complex one, remember that opportunities and relationships built on mutual benefit tend to last longer. So let's look at the legal side of partnerships. They are governed in the UK by the Partnership Act 1890. In legal terms, a partnership is the relationship which subsists between two or more persons carrying on in business in common with a view to profit. So this means that if you're in a band, an ensemble, a duo, or a group of songwriters earning shared income, then legally you are in a partnership. This is the default position unless you have another agreement in place. Within a partnership, income related to that partnership will be shared, and partners generally have unlimited liability, so they are legally responsible for all debts made against the partnership. Everything in use within the partnership falls under this Partnership Act too. So that means that any instruments, equipment, merchandise, and even a band's name would have to be divided equally as assets if the band was to split up, even if those assets previously belonged to an individual. Bands and groups don't often think about these implications when they first get together, but they're really important to consider. Given these legal responsibilities and the fact that musical partnerships can vary hugely, the ISM would advise all music professionals working in partnership to have a written contract in place. A bespoke partnership agreement can save time, money, and friendships down the line. If all members of your partnership are ISM members, our expert legal team can offer you and your partners free legal advice and help you to draw up a bespoke contract. They can also advise you on what type of partnership would suit you best, as you might want to consider forming a limited company, a limited partnership, or a limited liability partnership. The other thing your partnership should consider is public liability insurance, or PLI, which covers you in the event that a member of the public sues your partnership because they've been injured or their property has been damaged. ISM full members already have individual PLI as part of their membership, but this only covers you as an individual, so every member of the group must have this insurance in place. Alternatively, you can get group public liability insurance to cover the whole group. ISM members have access to a 20% discount on group public liability insurance through Musicians Insurance Services, and you can find that in the members area of our website. The relationship between an individual musician or a musical partnership and an artist manager is another type of partnership we can consider. The majority of working musicians are able to have successful careers without an artist manager. Orchestral players and freelance musicians typically direct their own careers and forge relationships with the agents, presenters, and fixers that book for relevant performances and engagements. However, if your professional ambitions are to have an international performance career as a conductor, an instrumental soloist, a concert and operatic singer, or as a member of a band or ensemble, then it could be helpful to be represented by an artist manager, someone who drives the strategic development and looks after the business elements of your professional life. An artist manager can also help you negotiate with other stakeholders, including labels, sponsors, publicists, and media partners. If you're interested in finding out more about working with an artist manager, the ISM has put together a how-to guide on the subject, written in collaboration with IMG artists. It goes into greater detail on the key relationship between artist and manager, explaining how to find someone you will work well with and exploring the role they'll play in boosting your career. There's a free extract available on the ISM website, or if you're an ISM member, you can download the full guide at ism.org/advice-center. Another form of partnership for music professionals is working with organisations like shops, venues, ensembles, and schools. Again, these types of partnerships can vary hugely in terms of scope, and may or may not involve money changing hands. If you're not sure how you could work with an organisation, it's worth starting by considering what you have to offer and what you would like in return. Think creatively about how you could work with businesses and organisations in your local area. For example, you might be part of a jazz trio looking for a space to perform and some exposure. Why not approach a local music shop to see if they have space for you to put on a gig? This could be a way to get a free venue and promotion in return for bringing an audience into the shop who are potential customers. Or say you're a harpist who plays at weddings. These are great opportunities for wedding musicians. There are great opportunities for wedding musicians to link up with local wedding suppliers, such as cake makers or invitation designers, for reciprocal promotion, such as swapping promotional tweets or both agreeing to display each other's leaflets. And you can also build up a relationship with local venues and wedding planners or other trusted suppliers. In terms of practicalities, when you're arranging a partnership with an organisation, start by arranging a meeting. This can be either in person or on the phone to put forward your proposal and discuss ideas. Try to ensure that you're dealing with the most relevant person from the organisation. So, for example, if you're looking for promotion, you probably want to speak to the marketing, press, or communications contact. Once you've agreed how the partnership will work, make sure you get some confirmation in writing. Ideally a contract, or at the very least an email outlining clearly the rights and responsibilities of both parties. If you'd like to find out more about contracts, you can read an extract from the ISM's How to Negotiate a Contract guide for free on our website. ISM members have access to the full guide, as well as template contracts and unlimited contract advice from our expert team of in-house lawyers. So the old saying goes, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I personally say this isn't entirely true. You've got to know your stuff as well as having a good network, but certainly in the music industry, who you know can be as important as what you know. So networking and interacting with others is one of the best ways for music professionals to find work and collaborators, to get yourself noticed, to improve your understanding of the industry, and to build a team around you, whether you're an artist, a session musician, a songwriter, or a music teacher. It's not just about talking to people, it's about creating relationships and discovering new opportunities. You never know when the contacts you make might take you to the next level in your career. Other musicians can be incredibly useful in terms of making connections, as they most likely know or have worked with other people in the industry, like publishing companies, music lawyers, and booking agents. You never know when you're going to make a great connection, so try and network as much as you can. Obviously, not every meeting will lead you to the opportunities you're looking for, but if you don't make that initial connection, you won't get any opportunities. Networking can be done in various ways, both in person and online. It can be a daunting concept for some people, but we're going to break it down and I'll give you some tools which hopefully you'll find useful the next time you're faced with a room of new people. So face-to-face networking. If you can, it's always best to build relationships face-to-face. People are much more likely to want to work with you if they feel that they know, like, and trust you. And it's much harder, although not impossible, to build up that relationship online. Face-to-face networking can be linked to both positive and negative emotions. I'm going to give you a few tips to make you feel more relaxed and prepared so that it's hopefully a positive experience for you. Whatever type of relationship you want to build, there is likely to be some kind of event that the people or companies you want to work with will be attending. There are music conferences, trade shows, seminars, and events that cover all sorts of topics, from music teaching to performing and from songwriting to working in the industry. Find out which ones are happening nearby and make the effort to go along. You can also make valuable connections with other musicians and music professionals at gigs and rehearsals. Local business networking is also great if you want to meet other businesses to collaborate with. For example, you might meet a company who want you to play at their Christmas party, or an accountant who could help you with your tax return. It's also an opportunity to meet lots of people based in your area who might want music lessons or know someone else who does. So you're keen to make some new contacts. Maybe you've been invited to an industry event where you're likely to meet some useful people. There are a few key things you should try and think about before you go. First things first, start by considering what you want to get out of the networking opportunity. Do you have a particular aim or aims, such as finding a manager, finding a new member for your band, or some pupils for your teaching practice? You might not necessarily have a particular objective. Meeting new people can be an aim in itself, but it's good to consider your aims first up. Secondly, know your audience. Can you ask the host who's going to be there or get access to a list of guests? Is there someone you particularly want to speak to? And have you met them already, or do you need someone to introduce you? If you've never met them, consider asking for an introduction by the organiser or someone you know. You could consider contacting them in advance or setting up a meeting if appropriate. If you can't get hold of an attendees list in advance, when you arrive, try and find the host first and ask them who's there and if there's anyone they think you should meet. Next, think about what you want people to know about you. You want to make sure that others know that you know what you know. Develop a short, memorable introduction that focuses on the things you want people to remember, your unique selling points or USPs. Sometimes we call this your elevator pitch. It should be short enough that you would be able to reel it off during a 20-second elevator ride. Stick with the key facts and make it clear, interesting, and concise. When you're reeling it off to someone, you should also try to adapt it slightly so that you're telling them what you can do for them. So, for example, if you're in a band that are looking for exposure and you're at a party where you might meet label managers, your elevator pitch might be something like, "Hi, I'm Alex Smith. I'm in an alternative indie band called The Massive. Our first EP had a 5-star review in NME and we're looking for a label to work with on our second." Next, consider bringing business cards with you. We may be living in a digital age, but I still think they're a great and simple way to maximise connections. If you do have business cards, make sure they include all your key info, so that's your name, your website, your email address and your phone number, and that they're representative of your personal or company brand. If you don't want to use printed business cards, think about how you will store and share contact details digitally. You could use the contacts or notes section of your phone, or there are some digital business card apps that you might want to explore. Finally, think about what you're going to wear. Is there a dress code you should be aware of? If you don't know, ask the host. They'll want to make you feel as comfortable as possible at the event. One way of making yourself more memorable to others when you're networking is by wearing something colourful or unusual, like a brightly coloured jacket or an unusual pair of shoes. Think about the peacock effect. It will make you stand out in people's minds. So those are 5 simple things that should help you feel confident that you're ready to network. And now you've done your preparation for the networking event and you've arrived. If you're at a drinks event, a good tip I've picked up is to keep a hold of your drink in your left hand so that you're ready to shake hands with people with your right. And try to put your phone away in your bag or pocket. I know it can be a bit of a comfort blanket if you don't know anyone, but people are far less likely to approach you if you're fiddling with your phone. Before you dive straight into talking to people, have a quick look around the room and see if you recognise anybody who you might want to speak to or who might be able to introduce you to someone useful. Also have a think about the group dynamics of the people in the room. Is there anyone standing alone? They might be a good person to start talking to. Or are there 2 people talking together? And if so, are they face-to-face locked in deep conversation, or are they standing slightly at an angle with an open space between them? If there's an open space, they probably won't mind you joining their conversation. Or if there's a circle of people talking together, is there anyone on the peripheries who you could stand beside and chat to? While you're sussing out the dynamics of the room, it can be a good time to stick with a colleague or a friend. But once you've done that, try to go separate ways, or at least approach new people together. You don't want to depend on your friend as a crutch, otherwise you won't meet anyone new. As you're talking to people, there are some small, simple ways to encourage them to trust and engage with you. They say it takes people 7 seconds to trust someone. Try to use open and positive body language, smile, maintain eye contact, and mirror the mannerisms of the person you're talking to. People might not remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. When you meet someone for the first time, shake hands and try to repeat their name back to them. Nice to meet you, Joe. This will make them feel listened to, but also it will help you in the long run to remember their name. If you've forgotten their name, which many of us do, use noise in the room as an excuse. Oh, sorry, it's so noisy in here, I didn't catch your name the first time. Could you repeat it, please? Try to be a good listener. This means listening to understand and not just to reply. It's off-putting if you think that someone is distracted or not listening to you, so try really hard to focus on what the other person is saying. When you're talking to someone, try to ask them questions and think of topics to discuss that are relevant to them. Use open-ended questions like who, what, where, why, when, and how. If you can't think of anything to say, ask about the event. How did they get here? Who do they know? Who's in the room? And think of a few topics you could confidently talk about, or small talk topics you can fall back on, like seasonal or industry events, gigs you've been to recently, music recommendations, travel, holidays, that kind of thing. If you've got a particular aim or an ask for a conversation, keep it in your mind, but don't go in with it immediately. Start with the soft sell by opening the conversation with some light-hearted small talk, and then once you've built up a bit of rapport, then weave in your requests. And don't be afraid to approach people and ask them for advice. The majority of people are nice and happy to speak to new people, and you've got nothing to lose by trying. Remember that there are people behind even the biggest of organisations like Spotify or the BBC, and all of those people were starting out in the music industry at some point. If you've had a useful conversation, remember to make the most of it by getting the other person's contact details. Swap business cards at the end, or if you don't have a business card, ask the person you've been speaking to put their contact details in your phone. And try and jot down some notes on the back of their business card or in a note on your phone to help you remember what was discussed. Now, the tricky bit, exiting a conversation gracefully. This is something that a lot of us find awkward. We all know when you've been chatting to someone for 10 minutes and you're aware the conversation has dried up, so you want to move on to talk to someone else. How do you get out of it without being rude? Remember that you might come across them again at some point in your career, so it's always best to be kind and polite. And the best approach is to come up with an exit phrase that you feel comfortable with. Try to be complimentary and avoid saying sorry or but if you can. So a few examples would be things like, it was lovely to meet you, good luck with your next project, and I hope we cross paths again soon. Or, it was great to chat to you, I've just seen someone else I need to speak to, so I'd better go and have a word. See you later on. Or, well, I'd better let you get on and speak to some more people. It's been great to chat. Do stay in touch. So a quick run through of the do's and don'ts when you're networking. The main do's: smile, shake hands, repeat their name, listen, ask questions, swap contact details, and exit gracefully. And the don'ts: try not to look at your phone, fidget, stick with friends as a crutch, get stuck with one person. Try and speak to as many people as you can. So you've been to a networking event and you've made a few useful contacts. Try to follow up with them as soon as possible afterwards, ideally the next day, with an email or a direct message on social media saying how nice it was to meet them and a few details to remind them what you talked about. You could send them a sample of your music or a link to your website to encourage them to find out more about what you do. If you want to discuss things further, perhaps suggest a meeting or a phone call. Keep your emails short, to the point, and tailored to the person you're contacting. Avoid regurgitating long emails to everyone you met. And don't be afraid to chase them if they don't get back to you within a week or two, but don't bombard them at the same time. Be polite. It's not always possible to meet people face to face, and these days there are a host of easy ways to make new connections online. As you would in the real world, keep things friendly and polite when you're networking online. Remember to thank people, and don't write anything you might later regret, particularly on social media. As someone once said, tweet others the way you want to be tweeted. People will respond better to you if you're nice. Social media is a fantastic free tool to promote yourself and connect with other musicians and organisations who might be able to help you achieve your career ambitions. Make sure your social channels are up to date with interesting and relevant content, such as promoting your latest album or tour, and use high quality, correctly sized photos, and make sure you've got a clear, succinct bio, so that if someone goes onto your Instagram to check you out, they can immediately get a sense of who you are and what you're working on. Interact with other people on social media, both with individuals and organisations. When you're posting, engage with, mention and tag relevant organisations and people to encourage them to engage with and share your posts. So if you're an artist who just did a gig at the Roundhouse, tweet thanking the venue and the audience for a great gig, and the Roundhouse might just retweet it. Use hashtags when you're out at events so that other people can discover you. And as with face-to-face networking, don't go in with the hard sells straight away. Try and engage with people in a valuable and interesting way before you ask them for help. If you have a website, which most artists or teachers should do, as it's your shop window when it comes to looking for work, spend some time making sure it's attractive and reflective of your personal brand and that it's easy to navigate. You don't want to make a great connection with someone and then totally ruin the impression they have of you by discovering a completely out of date and impenetrable website. When you're networking online, make sure you provide clear links back to your website so that people can discover more about you and can contact you easily. And if you arrange any reciprocal promotion with an organisation or another music professional, consider swapping links to each other's websites, as having links to your website on other established sites will help people to find you and can boost your Google rankings. If you want to get in touch with an organisation or an individual by email, find the contacts page on their website and you'll find at least a general contact and maybe a list of staff contacts if it's an organisation. If you can't find the right person to contact, maybe think about who you could ask who might be able to put you in touch. Often an introduction from someone else will help you to get the attention of the person you're trying to reach. So what are the key things to remember about partnerships and networking? Firstly, mutual benefit. Relationships are as much about giving as they are about receiving. So always remember to think about what you're offering as well as what you want. If you're working in partnership, make sure you've got a written contract and public liability insurance in place if it's necessary to the situation. Make the most of networking opportunities by doing a bit of preparation in advance. It can make all the difference. Be nice in your interactions with other people and do as your mother told you. Be polite, smile and say thank you. And finally, remember to follow up with the people you meet to maximise the networking opportunities. So the ISM offers a wide range of networking opportunities for those working in the music sector, both face-to-face and digital. And we also signpost to further opportunities from other organisations. Some ISM opportunities are for members only, but some are open to everyone. So ISM local groups are meetings of ISM members all around the UK, which offer support, networking, social events, professional development and performance opportunities. These are a fantastic way to meet other music professionals and to enhance your career. Members can find more information about local groups in the members area of the ISM website. The ISM also regularly puts on networking and professional development events for both members and non-members. The next one in our calendar is our annual Members' Day on Saturday the 25th of April at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama in Cardiff. This will be a great chance to connect with ISM staff, members and other music professionals in a relaxed environment with refreshments, performances and presentations. To see more details and to book tickets for ISM Members' Day, visit ism.org/seminars. The ISM Facebook group. So if you're an ISM member, you can join our community of music professionals on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/groups/myismis. This is a really great way to share stories and experiences, ask questions and connect with other music professionals. Member Connect is our new online platform that offers an opportunity to network with other ISM members. So it's designed to help our members make connections with each other using a searchable digital database by sharing contact details and information about your professional skills. If you're an ISM member, you can now create your profile by visiting ism.org/member-connect, and the Member Connect platform will go live later this month. We also regularly email members about upcoming networking and professional development events, such as BBC Introducing Live or Music and Drama Education Expo. If you're a member, look out for our bi-monthly events e-newsletter in your inbox. If you're not a member, you can sign up on our website ism.org to our free monthly non-member e-newsletter, which creates useful opportunities for music professionals. And finally, there are 2 useful pages on the ISM website which offer non-exhaustive lists of opportunities, networks, venues, ensembles, record labels and events which may wish to engage, commission or work in partnership with performers and composers. You can find these pages on ism.org under the Professional Development tab. So this webinar will be available on the ISM website to watch back. So if you're interested in watching it again or sharing it with a friend or colleague, you'll be able to do so at ism.org/webinars. And if you want to learn more about promoting yourself as a music professional, you can watch back our recent Marketing Essentials webinar, which offers an introduction to websites, social media, mailing lists, and creating a visual identity. And the How-To Guide advice series I mentioned builds on the practical industry advice on offer at our The Empowered Musician event, and it highlights the skills and knowledge you need to succeed in your music career. These guides include how to negotiate a contract, how to work with an artist manager, how to connect with a digital audience, and how to play at a festival. If you're already an ISM member, you can log in and access the full guides at ism.org/advice-centre. And if you're not a member, you can access extracts to the guides. So if you want to keep up to date with news, events, campaigns and professional development opportunities from the ISM and the ISM Trust, please check out our websites, ism.org and ismtrust.org, and follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram using the handles on screen. If you're not already an ISM member and you're interested in joining, you can find out more at ism.org/join by calling us on 0207 221 3499 or emailing membership@ism.org. So we've come to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it useful and you've come away with some practical tips. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, please pop them in the questions box now and I'll try to answer them as best I can. So we'll just have a look and see if we've got any questions. Okay, so someone's asked, the ISM networking opportunities sound good, but I don't live in a city. How can I find what networking events are happening in my area? Well, if you're a member, you can look up your nearest local group. There might be a group nearer to you than you think. And if the meetings are too far away, it would be worth at least speaking to the local group lead, as they might be able to put you in touch with other members in the area. You can also use our member Facebook group that I mentioned, or other online forums to ask if anyone knows of music networking events in your area. You can maybe think about contacting local music shops or hubs to ask them if they know of any events coming up. And you could think about talking to local musicians. They're likely to know, to have good local knowledge and can probably point you in the right direction. We've got a second question here about music teaching. So someone's asked, I said, I work as a music teacher in a school, but I also want to give private violin tuition. Do you have any tips on how I can gain clients through networking events, partnering with other teachers, or on how I can market myself? So if you're looking to expand a teaching practice, I would say that you should start by making sure your website and social media channels are up to date. Think about getting some business cards, and you could think about making some posters and leaflets to leave in music shops, libraries, adult learning centres, arts venues, that kind of thing. I would say definitely watch our Marketing Essentials for Musicians webinar, as there are lots of helpful tips in there in terms of setting up a website, building a mailing list, and that kind of thing. And in terms of networking, try local business networking, as you might meet some potential pupils, or you could maybe arrange mutual promotion with other small businesses in your area. Maybe ask other teachers you know if they know of any good places to promote their teaching practice or any local events. And if you're not direct competitors with another musician, so say you've got a local friend who's a piano teacher, you can maybe think about working in partnership together on things like promotion or even sharing premises. But if you are considering setting up a partnership, I'd say remember to consider the legal side and make sure you've got a written contract and public liability insurance in place. Okay, we've got another question here. I'm not used to networking as I haven't had to do it before. What's the easiest way to approach this, as I'm nervous about speaking to people? So I think nerves are very common. Networking often makes people feel a bit nervous and people find it daunting. Even if you do it a lot, you can still feel a bit nervous as you approach a room full of people you don't know. And I think the best way to manage this is to do a bit of preparation in advance. As I said, think about your aims and consider your elevator pitch. What is it you want people to know about you? If you can do a bit of digging beforehand to get an idea of who's going to be there. Make sure you know what to expect in terms of dress code and the format of the event. And if you use business cards, make sure you remember them. It's frustrating if you've gone to the effort of making business cards to leave them at home when you go to an event. And once you're all prepared, try not to rush into it. Take a minute to scan the room and see if you can recognise anyone or if there's sort of good people to go and speak to. This will help you feel a bit calmer and give you more confidence. And if you need to, just try and take a few deep breaths and keep smiling. I think smiling has been shown to give us a rush of serotonin and dopamine, so it can kind of instantly lift your mood. And try not to be too hard on yourself. Networking can be tough when you're starting out, so if you manage to just have one or two good conversations, that's a good outcome. You're not necessarily going to achieve your aim straight away, so just focus on getting out there and meeting new people. Okay, I think that's all our questions. If you do think of any more questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to email us and I'd be happy to get back to you. So the email address to use is membership@ism.org. And if you're an ISM member, you can always use our legal team, as I said. So thank you very much for listening. Oh, sorry, we've got one question here. So another question. I'm a private teacher and have sometimes found when networking that others doing the same in the same local areas see you as competition. Do you have any advice for this? Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It can feel like you're in competition with others. I think, as I said, if it's a musician who you're not in direct competition with, so if you're a violin teacher and they're a piano teacher, as I said, you could you could very easily promote together, because, you know, the effort of making leaflets or you know, creating a website can be quite time consuming. So it's a good idea if you can work together to do so, because it saves you time and money. I think be friendly with other people. If you are in direct competition with them, try and find out as much as you can from them, but it may be that, you know, they don't want to give away all their networking secrets. So, you know, try and learn from others, but if you kind of feel that they see you as a competitor, maybe know when to stop asking and ask someone else. But probably the best thing to do is choose other musicians to kind of go into partnership with who might not be doing exactly the same thing as you, maybe something similar, so that you can benefit from each other's expertise and knowledge. I hope that's helpful. Okay, so as I said, if you've got any more questions, please do email us at membership@ism.org, and I'd be happy to answer. So thank you very much for listening. That's the end of the webinar. Have a good afternoon.